So, you might have heard about a conflict happening thousands of miles away, but what you probably haven't heard is how it's about to trigger a financial shockwave. The news isn't giving you the full picture, so today we're going to connect the dots and show you exactly how this is heading straight for your bank account. Okay, let's dive right in. This geopolitical flashpoint is kicking off a huge chain reaction. And yeah, the headlines might already be moving on to the next thing, but trust me, the real consequences for your wallet, they haven't even started to show up yet. So to really get a grip on how this whole thing impacts your money, we've got to go back to the very beginning. Let's look at that first domino that got knocked over. And things escalated fast. I mean, incredibly fast. First, there was a strike. Then, immediate retaliation. And then the big one. Iran shuts down one of the most critical shipping lanes on the entire planet. Now, even though there's a ceasefire now, the economic damage, it's already done. Okay, to put this in perspective, think of the Strait of Hormuz like the world's single most important superhighway, but for oil. Now, imagine someone just parked a giant tanker sideways, blocking every single lane. There's no back road, no detour, the entire system just grinds to a halt. And that's pretty much exactly what just happened. So what was the effect? Well, it was immediate and it was dramatic. The price of oil just skyrocketed. We're talking from about $61 a barrel to over $118. That's nearly double in just 3 months. We haven't seen a spike that big or that fast in almost 40 years. Wow. Right, so let's fast forward a bit. Even if the fighting seems to be calming down, that financial shockwave we talked about, it's already baked into the system. And it is now making its way straight for you. You know, a good way to think about this is like food poisoning. Yeah, seriously. You eat the bad thing, and even though you stop eating it, the poison is already in your system. It just takes a little while before you start to feel the full, painful effects. That's exactly what's happening with inflation right now. And this is why it's such a big deal. Oil is kind of like this invisible ingredient in almost everything we buy. It's not just the gas in your car. It's in the plastic that wraps your food. It's the fuel for the trucks that deliver everything to the store. So when the price of oil spikes, the cost of, well, pretty much everything else has to go up too. So picture this. Businesses are getting squeezed from both sides, like a sandwich. On one side, all their costs, manufacturing, shipping, electricity, are going up. But on the other side, regular people, you and me, we're spending less because our bills are going up. And when businesses get squeezed like that, what do? They cut costs. And that usually starts with a hiring freeze and can quickly lead to layoffs. Now, normally in a crisis like this, you'd expect the government to step in with some kind of safety net, right? Well, here's the problem. This time, that safety net is frayed. It's got some massive holes in it. And their usual toolbox? It's pretty much empty. So central banks usually have 2 big levers they can pull to fix an economy. The first is cutting interest rates to make it cheaper to borrow money. The problem? With inflation already so high, doing that now would be like pouring gasoline on a fire. Their other option is to just print more money. But with the massive debt we have, that could just devalue the currency and make inflation even worse. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So why are their hands tied like this? Well, a huge part of the answer is this number, $39 trillion. That's the U.S. national debt. And when you owe that much money, it seriously limits your options for spending your way out of a problem. And here is why that debt number is so important. For every single tax dollar that the government collects, nearly 20 cents of it doesn't go to building roads or schools or anything like that. Nope, it goes straight to paying the interest on debt from the past. That's an enormous chunk of money that's just gone. It can't be used to help fix the problems we're facing today. Okay, so let's recap. You've got rising prices, a job market that's starting to look shaky, and a government that can't really do much to help. When you mix all those ingredients together, you get this really nasty economic situation. And it has a name. Stagflation. Now, you've probably heard that word thrown around before, stagflation. But what does it actually mean? It describes one of the absolute worst-case scenarios for an economy, and it has some very real impacts on your daily life. So think of stagflation as a recession's evil twin. In a normal recession, things are bad. People lose jobs, the economy shrinks. But there's usually a silver lining. Prices tend to fall. Your cost of living goes down. But with stagflation, you get the worst of both worlds. The economy shrinks, jobs are at risk, but prices keep going up. It's like being stuck in economic quicksand, because anything you do to fight unemployment makes inflation worse, and anything you do to fight inflation makes unemployment worse. And if you think that sounds bad, get this. There's an AI model from Moody's that has a perfect 80-year track record of predicting recessions. Every time it crosses the 50% probability mark, a recession follows. Well, right now, it's sitting at 49%. And here's the kicker. That reading was taken before this whole oil shock even happened. This kind of uncertainty is sending ripples all across the globe. For decades, the biggest players in the world, we're talking central banks, have stored their wealth in U.S. treasuries. It was considered the safest investment on the planet. But that's changing. A huge shift is happening right under our noses. Just look at the difference. Go back a few years and you see one picture. But today, central banks around the world now hold more of their reserves in actual physical gold than they do in U.S. treasuries. This is a huge deal. It's a quiet but really clear signal that the world's biggest money managers are losing faith and actively moving away from the dollar. So, what does all this mean for you? Well, the thing about an economic crisis is it doesn't affect everybody equally. For some people, it's just an annoyance. For others, it's absolutely life-changing. So the first step in protecting yourself is to really understand your own situation. And this chart really paints the picture. If you're a middle-income household, rising food prices might mean you cancel a streaming service or eat out less. It's annoying but manageable. But if you're in a low-income household where a third of your entire budget already goes to food, that same price hike is not an annoyance, it's a catastrophe. So the crucial point here is that in this kind of environment, sitting around and waiting for someone else to solve the problem for you, that is not a viable strategy. The real power is in focusing on what you personally can actually control. Things like maybe pausing any huge financial commitments for now, making yourself absolutely indispensable at work, diversifying your assets beyond just cash, and most importantly, taking responsibility for your own financial knowledge. And really, that's the big question we want to leave you with. In an economy where the old safety net is full of holes, what does true financial security even look like anymore? The old rules don't seem to apply, so how do we find our footing? Thanks for watching.